In the summer of 1978, I was 18 years old. I had just completed my first year studying English literature at Somerville College, Oxford University, and I was very excited about my first ever long student summer vacation. But what was even more exciting was that unlike all my previous vacations, where my parents had decided where our family was going, this was the first vacation where I was completely free to decide where I went myself. The whole world was my oyster. I could go anywhere. But there was no contest. I knew exactly where I wanted to go, to the country whose history and mythology had captured my imagination ever since I was a child. I went to Greece. My best friend Felicity Williams and I spent 6 weeks backpacking from Athens to Corinth to the islands to Santorini, Mykonos, Crete, Paros. We had an absolutely amazing time, and that is why I am so honored to be here talking to you today. As an entrepreneur, one of the things that I love most about starting your own business is that you can decide exactly how you want to make money. You can design your business model to be anything you want it to be. I believe that the business model of the future is all about doing good and making money simultaneously. And that the business model of the future, therefore, is shared values plus shared action equals shared profit, financial profit and social profit. In other words, when brands and companies come together with their consumers, their audiences, on the basis of values that you all share, which, by the way, is the most important requirement for a good relationship in life as much as business. You will never truly bond if you don't share the same values. And when you're then enabled to collaboratively and collectively co-act on those values, to walk the talk together, you can then make things happen in the real world that will benefit consumers, benefit society, and benefit the brand and its business. Actually, this is not only a good model for business, it's a good model for life. And in the context in which we're here today, I also think it's a very good nation model as well. So I am going to tell you how every single one of you can implement this model to change your own future and to change the future of Greece. So the first question that I want you to ask yourselves and answer is, what are my values? What do I believe in? What do I stand for? What matters to me? When you identify your values, it makes life so much simpler. Life still throws at you all the shit it always will, but you know exactly how to respond to it in any given situation in a way that is true to you. The true measure of someone is not how they are when things are going well, but how they are when things are going badly. When things are really, really bad, knowing that you are always behaving according to your values is what will get you through that. And then ask yourself, where can I find other people who share these same values? Shared values is the key to success for any business. The strongest businesses have a really strong corporate culture of shared corporate values. And shared values are also key to the success of a nation. One very important thing to say is that shared values does not mean shared thinking. Many people should have done many things they didn't do because of the social dynamic that I call fear of what other people will think. Fear of what other people will think is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business and in life. You will never own the future if you care what other people think. And so everyone is free to express their values in any way they choose. Everyone should express their values differently, because then you get many different solutions for all of Greece's problems. So the next question to ask yourself is, how can I act on my values? Action is key because action is transformative. When you do something, it makes you feel completely differently about yourself and what you feel you're capable of. And the key to action is micro-actions. A micro-action is a tiny bite-sized chunk of action, an action that is so small and easy to do, why wouldn't you do it? Everything in life and business starts with a micro-action. And the reason micro-actions are important is because change happens from the bottom up, not the top down. Every single one of us micro-acting every single day to change the things we want to change, cumulatively add up over time to enormous impact. And so identify how you're going to act on your values and then find other people that you can co-act with on those shared values, because that really accelerates change. Then ask, how can shared action create shared profit? We make more together than we do apart. In every industry currently, you will see the business syndrome of what I call collaborative competition. Collaborative competition is when everybody in a sector competes with everyone else in the sector by doing exactly the same thing everyone else in the sector is doing. Not a good idea. I believe the future instead is competitive collaboration. When all of us in the sector come together and collaborate to make things better for all of us in a way that you don't see currently, on the premise of a rising tide floats all boats, that is what then allows each of us off the top of that wave to then be uniquely competitive, leveraging our own individual skills and talents. Every man for himself or every woman for herself is a very bad attitude to adopt in tough times. One for all and all for one is what gets you through those tough times. And then, when you've identified how you're going to create shared profit, ask yourself, how can we make that profit both financial profit and social profit? As I said, I believe the future is doing good and making money simultaneously, but not in the old world order way that most companies currently do, which goes, we make money here, and then we do good by writing checks to causes to clear our conscience over here. It's about the new world order way of we make money because we do good. We find a way to integrate social responsibility into the way that we do business on a day-to-day basis that therefore makes it a key driver of future growth and profitability. So, with every financial opportunity you examine, ask yourself, how could I also do good? How could I also create social benefit? And do the opposite. With every opportunity to do good, ask yourself, how could I also make money doing this? There is nothing wrong with that at all. People come to me who say, I'm thinking of starting a non-profit. And I say, make it a for-profit. Because when you can create a business that does good and makes money simultaneously, you have your own resources and your own funds to draw on and to scale so that you can create an ever bigger impact. Inherent within the word shared is the concept of equality. And I refer specifically here to gender equality. The key to the future of Greece is women. That's because Greece needs innovative, disruptive solutions to its problems. And women challenge the status quo because we are never it. Diversity drives innovation. And by the way, not just diversity of gender, but also diversity of race, ethnicity, sexuality, disability, age. True innovation, true disruption is the result of many different mindsets, perspectives, insights, worldviews, all coming together in constructive creative conflict to get to a far better place that none of us could have gotten to on our own. Female perspectives are critical within that because there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously. For two reasons. One, women buy. We are the primary purchasers and the primary influencers of purchase in every single product sector. And secondly, women share. Social media is simply a new methodology for us to do what we've been doing since the dawn of time, which is sharing the shit out of everything in a way that men don't. Because we are the talkers, we're the gossipers, we're the chatters, we're the recommenders, the advocates, the ambassadors. So much so that I say to businesses that think they're targeting men, talk to women. Because women will influence men more than men will influence other men. And so women are absolutely key. That is why I would have loved to have heard many more women on this stage today than there were. If you asked every single one of the 8 members of FONUS to tell you what she imagines Greece in 2030 will be, you would hear completely different answers to anything you've heard on this stage today. And that's why, for the future of Greece, women's voices, women's ideas, and women's implementation are absolutely critical. The final recommendation I want to give you in terms of implementing this nation model is a question that I regularly ask people. I ask, what are your sexual values? And nobody can ever answer that question because we're not taught to think that way. Many of us, if we're fortunate, are born into families and environments where our parents bring us up to have good manners, a work ethic, a sense of responsibility, accountability. Nobody ever brings us up to behave well in bed. But they should, because empathy, generosity, sensitivity, kindness, honesty are as important there as they are in every other area of our lives and work where we are actively taught to exercise those values. We are so uncomfortable talking about sex that we default it to an act, to a thing we do. It's not. It's personality. Our sexuality is absolutely fundamental to how we feel about ourselves, other people, our relationships, our lives, our happiness. And so in a world today where porn is freely available online, even to children, and yet where we still don't talk about sex in the real world, we have to change our behavior. Because openness and honesty around sex is what leads to better human connection, to better relationships, and to better lives. My social sex startup, Make Love Not Porn, is helping the world find it easier to talk openly and honestly about sex. We are urging countries to reclaim their national sexual identity in order to promote great sexual values. Because when you do that, you end rape culture. You end sexual harassment, sexual abuse, sexual violence. And so I want to ask you to identify what are your sexual values, to live and love accordingly, and I want to ask Greece to identify its national sexual values and to promote great sexual values nationwide. Because when you do that, and when everyone in Greece is having way more sex and way better sex as a result, and therefore having much better lives and more fulfilling relationships, not only will Greece be a much happier country, but I guarantee you will see creativity and productivity shoot up across the nation. And by the way, I would love you to make Greek Love Not Porn, because I designed Make Love Not Porn around this model of shared values plus shared action equals shared profit. And our revenue sharing business model could be a very helpful boost to the Greek economy. I began this talk recalling the summer of 1978, and I want to end it by bringing you back to that summer. So Felicity and I were poor students, and we budgeted very tightly for our 6 weeks in Greece. But despite our best efforts, our money ran out about a week before the end of our vacation. For the last few days in the islands, we ate nothing but bread and tomatoes because we couldn't afford anything else. And we were dumped off the boat on the quay at Piraeus with several days to go before we caught our flight back to the UK and no money for food, transport, and lodging. So we were so desperate, there was only one thing we could do. A few weeks earlier on Crete, we'd met 2 young men, students who were at university in Athens. We'd hung out, we'd become friends, We particularly enjoyed hanging out with them because they were lovely young men. They did not hit on us or try to sleep with us like a number of other young gentlemen in the course of our 6 weeks in Greece did. And we'd exchanged phone numbers, and they'd gone off back to Athens, and we'd gone on traveling. So we called them from the public phone booth on the quay at Piraeus. They were amazing. They came straight down to the quay, they picked us up, they took us back to one of their homes. I mean, they weren't from well-off families. Their families welcomed us in. They found beds for us in their apartments. Their mothers cooked us dinner. The two young men, took us around Athens the next couple of days, gave us a tour of the capital. But really what they did was, they showed us Greece at its absolute best. I've been back to Greece many times since the summer of 1978, but whenever I think of Greece, I've never forgotten those few days in Athens that were to me the absolute epitome of Greek values. And so when I imagine Greece in 2030, I see a nation bonded by strong, national, amazing Greek values, shared values across the nation. I see a nation collaborating around and co-acting on those values to make things better for everyone. And I see a nation that is utterly focused on creating shared profit, both financial profit and social profit, for every single member within its borders, including those who came from outside. Change happens from the bottom up, not the top down. Every single one of you watching this live stream has the power to do anything that you want to do to change the future for Greece, to micro-act together, to create enormous impact at scale. Please do that, and we will see the Greece in 2030 that we would all want to see. Thank you very much.